I tried the bullet journal. I promise I tried. And Wolfmuller, and I invented the Everbook because trying to go analog in my productivity system a few years ago was frustrating. And I was using the bullet journal. That's as close as I got to what I wanted to get to. But there were so many problems that it was frustration after frustration. But I think I've got a solution. You got to see if you got the same problems as me and see how this solution works. Now, first, I'm going to assume that if you're watching this video, you're already all in on at least attempts to be productive by analog. I was, after kind of adopting getting things done, I was all paper for the first 6 months. I kind of made an oath or a pact to do that. I figured if I could understand it on paper, then when I switched to the online tools, the electronic tools, I'd be able to understand what I was doing. And so good enough. And then I was all online, except for one list. I noticed this. I had a list of things I was praying for, and I never was comfortable putting that list on the computer. And it led, I mean, there's a kind of an understanding of this, but I think if you are here with me already, that you understand that there is just a different energy when you're working on a screen versus working with pen and paper, with a pencil and a blank page. There's a different kind, I don't know, there's, you know, the gurus can tell us why, but I found that I do my best work, my most productive work, my most focused work, my best deep work when it's me and a piece of paper. So I wanted to go analog on my thinking and on my system, and I looked into a couple of different things, including different kind of planners that different people offer. I liked the bullet journal because it had the idea of the wide open page. I mean, it's just you and a page, and you make it whatever you want. I want the system to be completely customizable, but I kept running into problems. I wrote down my problems here as well. Number one, there was so much setup time. You had to put your index there, you had to number the pages, and indexing. And I wanted to have different templates. I wanted a template for my workday. I wanted a template for a project. I wanted a template for the yearly planning sort of thing, but you got to write all that sort of thing up. Now, I appreciate the blank page, but the setup time was often a frustrating thing to me. And I would look, you know how this is. I mean, any sort of barrier to action, any little thing like that is going to hold you up. It's funny how the smallest thing, you know, a 20-second thing is going to hold you up. And so I found the setup time to be frustrating. Also, the idea that there's so much migration. If a thing didn't get done this day, it was rewritten. I appreciate that, because one of the problems with a digital system is if a to-do isn't done, it can get hidden and you don't even know it. And so you lose the weight of it. But the monotony of having to move things one after another was also a problem for me. And there was also no way to have a hierarchy. I noticed in my bullet journals, I would have like an insight that I thought was life-changing, and it's right next to a grocery list. I've got my top 5 yearly goals right next to a thought that doesn't even matter. And so there was no way to sort of prioritize these ideas, and that became a barrier to me. I noticed that if I just had something I wanted to jot down, but it wasn't a full idea, and it wasn't going to take a full page or something like this, I was holding back. I was reaching for scrap paper because I didn't want to have this nice page decorated right next to just some nonsense sort of page. And so I loved the blank page, but I was holding myself back from jotting stuff down. And also this too, what happens if you just have a little dumb idea, but it expands and it becomes, you know, you fill up a page, you go back to that idea, you write some more, and you run out of space. And now you're like 10 pages later and 10 pages later and 10 pages later. What if an idea becomes an even bigger idea? There was a problem if it was too small, and there was a problem if it was too big. In other words, I was either allotting space, and I had to know where the thing would end before it started, and I didn't like that. That also was a barrier to me. There was a frustration with having kind of living pages next to dead pages. You know, here's a list of phone calls, they're all done. And here's a list of projects that are all just beginning, and they're right next to each other. And so the kind of percentage of living in dead pages was frustrating. I always found myself wanting to tear pages out. And also, I couldn't put stuff in. I wanted to add things. I mean, I would print out an email that was connected to this project, and so I had all this loose leaf in there, and that became a real mess. And that same living and dead problem happened at the end of the bullet journal. Like when I just had a few pages left, and it's like, okay, here's all my life, and now I've got two, next to each other, and half my life is here and half my life is in here, and I either got to take the time to take everything and move it over here, or that was a frustration to me. So all those things kind of added up to constraints on the use of the bullet journal and a frustration. And I kind of was at a, what am I going to do here? Am I going to go back to analog, digital, even though I know I lose so much in my work to go back to digital, but the inefficiency of it wasn't working. And so what I realized is that what I wanted to be able to do was to move pages around. I thought, how can I? So I started ripping off covers and things like this and experimenting with this, because what if I could move a page here and there? And what developed out of that was the Everbook system, it's basically just a way to take pages, loose leaf pages, which has some huge advantages because you can print templates. For example, I love this weekly template that I use. It has something every day, and so every week I don't have to redraw this. I just grab the template, print it off, and it's ready to go, and I put it in there. And the nice thing about the loose leaf page is that when I've got my old week, I can go and I can file it. I've got a to done file in my desk here, so that all my weekly stuff can stay there, and at the end of every year I can go in a review and I can put that in archive, so that I can grab the templates and print them out. I have an annual template, I've got a project template, and those can kind of sit in my Everbook system so that I don't have to write that stuff out. There's no barrier to getting things done, and I can grab things and categorize them by bundles and various different whatever. Here's my logbook, which is just a piece of paper folded up with a bunch of kind of blank pieces of paper. I mean, there's my log, my notes and my journal kind of stuff. But if I want to write something, I go to the end of this thing where I've got 5 or 6 blank pages, and I just start to write. And here's the great thing. I mean, maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe it's nonsense. Maybe it's useless, and I throw it out. Maybe it's something I want to archive. So I've got an Everbook on my shelf that just has my 2019 log, my 2020 log. It's growing. So once it's out of my space, I can archive it there. Or maybe this idea becomes something maybe it becomes a project. I just pull it out and I can put all the other information that I need right in there with it. Or maybe I'm teaching a class and I've got an idea, and so this becomes a class thing, and let me show you. Here's a class that I'm teaching. No, this is an article I'm writing. Here's a class that I'm teaching right here, and it started out just with some notes. I was just taking notes like that, and then I started, I think I had a page in my log that I was writing stuff down on, and then I just gather all that up, and I put the class title there, and I put all the information, and now that stays together for me. So anything to do with that class just goes on there, and as much space as I need, it's there. And if I'm teaching this, it's right here in front, and if I'm done with it, then I can put it on the shelf. And it's out of the way, so that I can easily prune the stuff in and out, so that everything here in my Everbook is living and active. Everything is here because I want it to be here. I can have a shopping list. I can go right in the top. If that's what I need my attention on, my shopping list is right there at the top. And then when it's done, it's out. It's out. This is why the book name is called Everbook, because it's perpetually changing as your own life is changing. When I was writing a book, I had a whole half of the Everbook was just expanding with all my notes on this book. And then when the book is sent to the publisher, whoop, that goes on the shelf as my notes. It sits there while I'm typing away, and now it's there. It's out of the way. It's a done sort of project. I can access it anytime. It's great. I can go back and access it anytime, but I don't have to. I'm not committed to it. So I can pull stuff out, categorize stuff together, put the stuff where it needs to go. I have my folder here. I call it my work week folder. It's probably a weekly review folder, and it has everything that I need to look at on a weekly basis. So when I go to do my weekly review, I want to look at all my project lists. I want to look at all my areas of focus. I want to look at my annual goals, and I want to look at my calendar for the next year and the year after that. So I've got that calendar template printed out, deadlines, departures, milestones. 2022 we started already. That's just there for me. As soon as someone asks me to do something in 2023, I'll just go print out another template and put 2023 and put it in here as well. So it lets me scan all my long range stuff. And if I want something else to be in here, I just put it in here. And if I'm tired of looking at something, I take it out. It's so nice. It's so nice. Now, the problem, okay, now you say, well, what's the problem? What's the downfall? Here's the problem. And this is a real problem. The solution that we have is a solution, and that is that you're dealing with loose leaf stuff. And the problem is it doesn't, the edges of this are not quite as nice as the edges of this. I'm willing to bear with it. And the solution that we've got is this nice elastic thing that just holds it together. You have to have the top and the bottom to hold it together. That's the solution in the Everbook. You can make one of these. I mean, I had one with a piece of newspaper to start, and then a piece of paper, and then fake leather from the store. Now you can buy the fancy one from Murdy Creative, which is just glorious because it looks cool. You can have it engraved with whatever you want on there, which is nice. But you can make it with whatever you want. You got paper, you can just do it with blank paper. You got a nice one, and it keeps it all together. You can build your own. And I think this is an alternative to the bullet journal that opens up some real incredible avenues for creative exploration. If you're an artist, or if you're a student, or if you're an entrepreneur, or if you're in creative sort of stuff, if you're a teacher, if you're a writer like me, if you're a pastor, if you are in travel, we got a great note from someone who's modified their Everbook in insurance and any sort of other creative endeavor. This really opens a lot of fantastic possibilities. So the Everbook as the alternative to the bullet journal. I still use a lot of things I learned when I was bullet journaling, but this takes it, I think, to the next level. I'd love to hear your thoughts, especially if you give it a try, what you think about it. Everbook Forever is a website where you can download all the templates for free, 100% free. And if you come up with your new templates, send them to me. We'll put them up there for everybody to use as well. And let me know what you think. Thanks. Hope to help you do more good. Have a great day.